In this video, I'll be exploring the differences between Pro Stitcher Designer and Art and Stitch 5.0 with regards to the color palette, also known as the thread chart. In Pro Stitcher Designer, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen there are 20 colors available to choose from. In an empty swatch, I can right-click and choose Add Color. And if I continue to do that, you'll notice right away that it's just repeating the color palette. Items 1, 2, and 3 have now also been assigned to numbers 21, 22, and 23. I can right-click and choose Remove Extras, and that's going to remove everything other than the default number 1. I can right-click and add color again, and it's going to restore the same colors that were there previously, all the way up to number 20. I'll stop at number 10 for demonstration purposes. If I right-click and say Make Current Default, are you sure you want to replace the default colors? I'll say yes. And you'll notice that when I right-click and add color, it now starts over at number 1 and 2 and 3 and so forth. And it is repeating the color palette items 1 through 10. So I effectively reset the palette to items 1 through 10. If I right-click and choose Reset Default Colors, and it asks if you are sure, and I say yes, I would have expected it to clear the entire color palette below and show me items 1 through 20 like it did when I first opened the document. But let's see what happens if I open a new document. It has indeed decided to start showing me items 1 through 20. And if I go back and I tell it to remove extras, I should be able to restore the color palette all the way to item number 20 because I had reset the default colors. And sure enough, items 11 and 12 are new colors in this palette, so that tells me that I have successfully reset the default colors to the original 20 colors. So there you have it. Now if I open an existing file, you'll notice that it reduces the color palette to the one color that is being used in the design. And again, I can right-click to add colors. I can also click on a color in the palette and change it to anything that is available to me in this dialog. And it looks like they have done a great job of providing color palettes for well-known brands of quilting thread. So you'll see in this list things like Glide, which is a favorite among many. And we'll just choose Glide. And let's pick this pretty color over here called Robin Egg. And I'll click OK. It's kind of hard to see, but this didn't change. It's still utilizing the blue that's number 1. And if you look closely, you can see that it's kind of highlighted with this little gray box that tells me that number 1 is the color that's in use for this design. I expected that when I click on number 2, it wouldn't just pop up a dialog box. It would, if I chose OK, go ahead and assign that color here. To make it a little easier to see, let's go ahead and add another color. I'll make this Adam Red. And you'll see that the color isn't red over here, and it's certainly not red in the document. If I click off of the flower, you'll see that clearly. And clicking on that, again, opens the dialog box, which I found to be rather frustrating. So I'll click Cancel. Now, granted, I am a Mac user, and I have Pro Stitcher Designer installed on Parallels. So that's a virtual machine that allows me to run Pro Stitcher Designer on my Mac. So sometimes things work a little bit differently, especially when it comes to mouse clicks. Sometimes a right click may be different for me as a Mac user. Sometimes keyboard shortcuts can be different, and I'll have to hold down a different accelerator key like Control or Option, or that's actually Option on the Mac, but Alt on Windows, or Command on the Mac, but the Windows key on Windows. So I have to kind of play around and figure out the differences in the keyboard shortcuts. That being said, this may work fine on Windows, so please let me know in the comments if you can assign a color simply by tapping on, or clicking, I should say, on the color in the palette. What I have to do to change the color on my Mac is right-click, and you'll notice instantly that it changed the color, and it's now Atom Red, and it is Atom Red over here as well. So let's move over to Art and Stitch now and see how Art and Stitch uses the color palette differently. I already have the flower open in Art and Stitch, and it's the same flower that is in ProStitcher Designer. You'll notice right away that it's a little bit easier to see that black is selected as the color for this design, and all I have to do to change the color for it is select it, and it changes instantly. I don't have to right click, and I can't double click on this in order to change the color. I do have the option to change my thread chart. If I click on Choose Embroidery Thread Chart, which may seem like kind of a silly name for quilting software, but you have to keep in mind that Art and Stitch is also used for embroidery designs. I had the quilting palette chosen already, but you can choose between any of the items in the list here. So let's just count them real quick. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We'll go over to ProStitcher Designer in just a moment and see if we have more than 22, but from the looks of it, I think we had probably closer to 40. Anyhow, I'll go ahead and leave quilting selected. And the next item over is the export thread chart. And I can export my existing thread chart, which would be great if I could indeed change the colors in my thread chart. However, exporting doesn't really do me any good as an Art and Stitch base user. This feature is really exclusive to Art and Stitch Plus, which is an additional cost beyond the base product. If your ProStitcher came with Art and Stitch, then you have Art and Stitch Base. Art and Stitch Plus is an add-on which you can purchase from their website that will enable some features that are disabled by default in Base. So I can just cancel out of that. There's really no reason for me to save a palette in here because I can't change the colors in the palette anyway without having Art and Stitch Plus. So that's really all there is to the Art and Stitch color palette. Now going back over to ProStitcher Designer, let's look at the thread charts available to us. So by default, Exquisite Thread 40 is chosen, but if you scroll up, you'll see that there are several above it. So we have, starting with Anchor, that's 1, 2, and I am just using the arrow down key on my keyboard, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, variegateds. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. More variegateds. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50. Whew, 51, 52, 53, 54. And it looks like 54 is it, with Viking palette being the last in the list. So that's 54 different color palettes versus 22 in Art and Stitch. And it looks like I can probably search for the name of a color here. Let's just give that a shot and see what happens. I typed a P and instantly it started with purple. So let's just back up and say B for black or blue, and it's showing me blue. I'm assuming this is black. So it may or may not be a very useful feature. It's nice that it's there, but I'll have to reserve judgment as to whether or not that's truly handy. And it looks like it only searches the current color palette versus all of the color palettes. So I'm not sure how useful the search is just yet, but it's nice to know that it's there. I think that is pretty much everything there is to know about the color palette or thread chart in ProStitcher Designer and how it compares to Art and Stitch. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this or if there's another video that you'd like to see me do that covers something else that you're interested in.